Hello there and welcome to US Tzu Chi 360. My name is Dilbar Chatterson and today we revisit a familiar program. It's that of Tzu Chi's character education. Its goal is focused on helping children blossom into socially and morally healthy adults. And according to Gallup polls, over 90% of Americans believe that this kind of instruction should be an integral part of the American school system. But despite overwhelming support from the public, is belief enough in reaching this goal? According to the book, The Death and Life of the Great American School System, the focus of the system here in the States is mainly concerned with raising test scores, following structured education rubrics, and meeting standardized testing guidelines. So is there enough room to fit lessons about cultivating better morals and virtues? Ideally, parents are the ones to do this job at home, but how many actually do? The uncertainty of this is what has motivated Tzu Chi's education department to move forward with character education classes in Southern California since the fall of 2006. Let's see how they consistently have gone about making this goal a reality.
Let's hear you. I want to hear your singing, okay? Your beautiful voices. Ready? Go.
If you're angry and you know it, stomp your feet.
If you're angry and you know it, then you're drunk. If you're angry and you know it, make peace when you show it. If you're angry and you know it, take deep breaths. Good job. Have a seat. Okay, next we are going to do an activity, and we're gonna...
I'm Penny Su, and I'm currently a volunteer and a teacher for Tzu Chi Character Education.
If somebody's teasing you, you don't need to shout at them, you don't need to get angry, you can just walk away, okay?
My name is Linda Trong. My role here is the character education specialist.
What is that? What does he do? What is that?
We went to Charles Lee to teach a better way to deal with anger. Like angry and you stomp your feet or you bang on a drum. So basically taking out anger in a positive way where you're not verbally or physically hurting anybody or hurting yourself.
Okay, come on back.
This time could have been used on math or, science or English. And some of the teachers are a little bit suspicious and they're not sure if they're going to see the value of it. But over time, usually after one semester, you can see the improvement in students' behavior overall. And so these are the things, that proves that character education really has a lot of value. But the state of education in America, overall, what we're observing is that there is a trend to increase academic performance, but there is also a void in terms of character education.
A little bit about the case of equality.
Public school in America, I believe there could be some changes that we could make.
Is there something else we read that was similar to this article?
We need to focus more on students thinking for themselves and not just the teaching to the test like we've been doing.
Real education is much more than just teaching the knowledge from the books, because the education system in the U.S. is highly developed, but we still see many issues such as violence.
Deadly shooting at an elementary school.
27 victims, 20 children, 7 adults.
还有2008年纽约华尔街发生非常严重的那个金融风暴。
The news from Wall Street has shaken the American people's faith in our economy.
那就是有一群少数的人，因为他们的心没有照顾好，因为贪婪，所以说他们的弊案造成了整个华尔街的崩盘。
These kids these days, they're surrounded by a world that's just sometimes very ugly, and they need something positive.
It all goes back to what the master emphasized about how we should transform from being a knowledgeable person to being a wise person with characters. So in 1994, our education group started our first Sunday school in Los Angeles. We rely on educators to carry out the mission of moral development and humanitarian education. Now, across the country, we have 23 schools. So we start our regular school, preschool, kindergarten, and elementary school. And at the same time, we have a continued education for adults. So we use daily living teaching to inspire positive potential, and we use the life education to grow wisdom. So it's about time to bring those values to the U.S. classroom because it's been missing in this curriculum. But how can we inspire more people?
Then 8 or 9 years ago, we had a wonderful, wonderful connection with the principal at Lytle Creek Elementary. And the principal actually was really touched by our volunteers who had gone there to do free clinics.
所以他就来跟慈济的志工们来询问说：你们有这么好的一个近思语，可不可以请你们的志工来到我的课堂上，教我们孩子这些那么好的话？那就是因为这个机缘呢，开启了一个品格教育的大门，让我们的品格教育课程进入到公立学校去。
When we started, we had very little. We had these teachings from our masters, and we have lesson plans from Taiwan. But, the lesson plans from Taiwan still has many cultural differences. Here in the U.S., the students are more outgoing, they're more expressive, they're very eager to participate. So then we decided that we were going to just write lesson plans from scratch.
当初我们在设计这些品格教育的课程的时候呢，我们在想说，怎么样结合上人的法跟品格教育。
And so a group of volunteers actually sat down and we went through the values that have been taught by the master. And these values are turned into topics or themes.
We teach 10 different topics in the classroom. Respect, responsibility, gratitude, giving, compassion, courage, contentment, emotional management, filial piety, tolerance.
And every grade will actually be taught these topics. And as we progress from 1st grade through 6th grade, the subject may remain the same, but the delivery may change.
Courage, for example, for the 1st grader, the courage means say no to a stranger. For the 2nd grader, courage means try new things.
The Tzu Chi character education classes are also always very interactive, and the programs are filled with a lot of different activities that may require, stations, rotating students from one station to another. So that all requires a lot of volunteers.
Yeah, so we kind of killingly call Wednesday is our Tzu Chi day because if my friend calls and said, hey, can you go and play golf on Wednesday? My response would be, no, I can't, because I have committed basically all of my time Wednesday to doing this.
The visitors
No,
land.
the
visitors land.
For X-Brand, we don't do character education, but we do tutoring for them, for the students that are very low in learning or their academics are very low, and we help them. And the volunteers have a good effect on the kids because the kids learn to open up to them.
Bringing.
I'm Cindy Huang, and before I retired, I was IT auditor.
To change the singular noun to a plural noun.
My name is Stephanie, and I'm a practicing dentist. I have my own office.
So I retired from work a couple of years ago, and I was looking for something to do.
I started slowing down my practice, and then I took a Wednesday off.
It just happened that I was on a board, and one of the other board members was a commissioner.
And then so character education, they asked me if I would help.
They need a classroom volunteer.
So I decided to give it a try, and I enjoyed it.
Without these wonderful volunteers, none of this could really happen, and our lessons won't be as interesting and as dynamic. And we really want them to remember the content and the values that we're trying to deliver.
And the volunteers, when they're facilitating these discussions, they actually go deeper and then they get to know the kids better, and they develop a relationship where it's not just, student, teacher, or volunteer, just a person that comes in every 2 weeks, but they develop a bond.
A lot of these kids are not used to having somebody that they could talk to and they could count on. So I think it is important for us to help them, whether it's through character education or whether it's through tutoring. So to me, I think it's important for me to be there every day.
Sometimes they would say their friends has been mean to them. What do we think that it would be best way to overcome that?
Do I make difference to them? I don't know about that part, if I make difference. But then as a group, I think we did.
For the next lessons that we're going to deliver at Lytle Creek, we're going to bring the topic of responsibility to fifth graders.
So for the fifth grade, responsibility that we can do time management.
When we first started at Lytle Creek, we started with first grade kids. And, you know, we went in, we would teach, we did a lot of research to make sure that our lessons were age appropriate. We were using, you know, languages that first graders can understand. But what we realized after the first couple of times was that, you know, we're using first grade level lesson plans and first grade level languages, but the kids are not responsive because due to their family backgrounds, they had like language barriers. They have never been exposed to certain concepts or certain, you know, vocabularies.
For example, in my class, I have 24 students. Out of the 24 students, I need a translator for 15 of my conferences I'm going to have next week. So it's really very poor, low language.
So how do you take an abstract concept and help kids visualize that value and actually through, you know, seeing, touching, feeling, doing, learn?
And so we have taught a lesson, giving them 4 stations to go to within 10 minutes, and they have to complete the task. But we don't tell them, okay, it's 5 minutes now, you need to move on. So they have to look at the task and then figure out what's important.
I remember last time for last lesson that we wanted to make sure clear whether it's only about time management or to put it into like a priority kind of thing.
Priority.
Yeah, put into priority because say for example, well sometimes students even they kind of put into like a time management and like a time slot to say I want to do this first for how long and then later, but if they cannot finish or complete their task, then it doesn't mean anything. So we wanted to also emphasize the say what kind of things that you have to do, what kind of things that are important, most important.
So part of time management can be, with the time that I have, if I have 4 tasks, I just cannot finish. I could only accomplish 3 tasks. But in a sense, that's okay because they had already prioritized it.
Yeah.
So time management might not necessarily mean that you have to finish everything. It's just that you have to prioritize and then you could manage your time.
Right.
Yeah.
That actual lesson plan itself are actually written up by the, I would call them professionals, somebody that's actually have the educational background. But I think we all brings in different ideas and different suggestions on how we could make it a little bit better.
Because I think the purpose for the activity is let them to see the consequence.
So from our activities, how do we show the consequences?
Yeah. So I think that we can do a skit, right?
Consequence?
Yeah. So
After the 4 stations? Instead of doing activity first, we should do the skit. Like a role play skit.
And then they understand the consequences in the skit, from the skit.
Yeah. So we learn the consequences from.
So we finished writing a short story, but I thought it wasn't very interesting. So I said, okay, let's turn it into a play. And so that's when things got really interesting. People started throwing ideas, throwing characters into this lesson. But since this was the first time we delivered it, we could only imagine what it would turn out.
Well, I have a lot of lines that I have to memorize today, so I'm a little bit nervous right now. As we deliver material to the student, we do need to be prepared so they understand that we take this seriously. You know, if they see us up there just kind of going through the motion, so to speak, I don't think it registers to them. So I do spend some time trying to memorize the line.
Action! It is 5 p.m. and Stevie just got home from his soccer practice. He takes out his home agenda and looks at it.
Let's see what I have for homework tonight. Let's see. I'm supposed to read from this book for about a couple chapters from this book and write a summary. I have to do about 40, 50 math problems. Let's see, there's a social study test and a spelling test tomorrow that I need to study for. And after that, my mom wants me to, you know, clean my rooms, fold my laundries, and set the table for dinner before she gets home tonight. I think I'll start by reading this book.
My concern was that the skit wasn't going to be that smooth and the kids won't get it, because we had a skit before and there wasn't a narrator, so the kids just acted out without words. So I was thinking, if there's a narrator, it would be a little easier because they'll tell the kids, you know, what's going on in the scene, what's going on in that scene. But if we have a narrator, would it confuse the kids?
We need one more kid. 怎么少一个?
You know what? I think I'm gonna take a 15-minute break and then I'll try my new games and then I'll get back. Wow, man, this game is cool, man. Oh, God, look at this.
Spelling test. Social study test. Spellings.
Ah, leave me alone.
Elaine was like thinking the issue was, how will they know these are just like sounds in the people's head for the lesson? How do you know it's the conscious talking? What if the kids actually think, you know, that's a real person talking?
It is now 8:30 p.m. and very close to Stevie's bedtime, 9 p.m. So his mom sent him to go wash up and then get ready for bed.
Oh, what am I gonna do? It's my bedtime already and I haven't finished any of my homework or study. Oh man, I'm doomed tomorrow.
The end. Everybody take a bow.
Okay, good job, guys.
The skit didn't go that smoothly because there's so many roles, and I guess they were nervous to be in front of the classroom. But I feel that the kids understand the concept. They understand the concept of time management. What happened in this skit? What happened in the skit? Yes.
Today we learned about using your time wisely and do whatever your mom tells you to do and just do your homework and just play after.
Yes.
The test that he was preparing for, he might fail them. If you don't use it wisely, then you'll never get your task completed.
A lot of times what we teach in a classroom is not just what we've said or what kind of activities we have done or what kind of, you know, daily practices we've asked them to do. A lot of times it's how we treat them that's really impactful to the students.
That they're kind and they're very patient. I like the fact they have men because we don't have a lot of men presence here in San Bernardino. Since they've been here, I've seen a big change.
They try to focus on us so we don't do bad.
Now I'm more nicer to people than I used to be.
I also learned how to help people who are hurt.
Learn more about feelings and not judge how they look or how they are.
So I will see you in 2 weeks, and I'm gonna have you say thank you to Miss Stephanie.
Thank you, Miss Stephanie.
Miss Penny.
Thank you,
Mr. William, our wonderful actor. And then say bye to Miss Amy.
Bye, Miss Amy.
And back there to Mr. Michael. Big smile and wave. Okay, thank you, Miss Houston. You guys have a great day. Right when we step out, we're like, okay, we accomplished teaching this topic, but we need to find something else that we can add on to teaching them.
After we finish our lessons, we always try to improve on the lessons and revise on the portions that may not have worked so well, because it's our responsibility to the children. We immediately do like a roundtable discussion to make sure we actually talk about where did the lesson go very well, where did the lesson, go not so well.
But it was very good that there was some kids that completed 3 tasks, because there's 4. If they completed 3, that was very good already. So then they understand, because they said, okay, to time manage, I had 10 minutes, so I dedicated 3 minutes here, 3 minutes there, 2 minutes there. And I feel like they understand the concept,
But I think I just gave them too big of a challenge, so that...
Yes, when I decided to make the math worksheets for the kids for one of their stations, actually they're 5th graders, so I decided, okay, you know, they're from their academics are very low. I'll just use a 4th grade curriculum. Well, I think my 4th grade curriculum was a little too advanced of a 4th grade curriculum, so it didn't go very well. I noticed the kids were struggling.
So we have so many lessons developed, and we're at the final stretch. These are the brand new lessons that we have developed for this year. So I think overall, you know, for the first trials, this went fairly well, and I think the kids actually understood the concepts and they enjoyed the class. So if we just make some minor modifications, I think we can make the classes better next year.
Yep.
Great. Thank you for helping.
Good job.
And their feedback. Thank you for their feedback.
And we want to think of many, many ways to set a good foundation for them so later on in life they can recall and go, oh, I remember this, you know, that's what I've learned. I should do that.
Time.
Yes. With maybe other missions at Tzu Chi, you can see an immediate effect. So for instance, if I participated in the free clinics, we can see that a lot of the patients who came in with pain, they leave with a solution, and they leave with medication, they leave with their teeth being fixed. So the results are very immediate. But with education, it's very different, especially with character education.
No.
Okay.
We're not teaching them things like addition or multiplication, where you can see the results very soon, but we're teaching them something that's going to be internal, that changes their mindset.
1, 2, 3, ta-da! Welcome back. While conclusions about character education and direct academic performance are scattered, some sources suggest some very curious correlations. Rather, in a study of the American School Board Journal published in 2003, it notes that schools that offered these programs actually had fewer cases of disciplinary action, suspensions, and truancy, all of which can indirectly affect how well a student develops in the long run. In fact, researchers at Stanford University discovered something along those lines in their famous marshmallow experiment. They conducted a series of tests to examine a child's sense of self-control, a value often stressed in Tzu Chi's programs. Children were given the choice of either 1 marshmallow now or 2 if they were able to wait 15 minutes. In a follow-up study, those who had been able to exhibit self-control tended to have better life outcomes. How? Better SAT scores, body mass index, and higher levels of academic achievement. So with results like these, what can we make of the success of character education? Thanks for joining me this week, and I hope you enjoyed today's feature. I'm Dilbar Shatterson, and I'll see you soon.